Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the #1 sports podcast, broadcasting Sundays at 9 a.m.-ish in Sacramento, California. Sports Talk 916. Now here are your hosts, Greg Bowl and Coach Greg Barroso.
Good morning, and as the clock strikes 9-ish in the morning in Sacramento, here we are, right on time. Welcome. This is episode number 265 of this little shindig we call
268. We just went over this.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at 268, and I said 265. I have no idea why that came out.
God damn it. What's up, James? Good morning. Oscar, TJ, Nolan. Good morning, guys.
Anyway, whatever fucking episode this is, you're here. We're here. I'm me. That's him. We're both named Greg. This is Sports Talk. Whatever. Go fuck yourselves all.
Exactly. What's up, man?
No, that's man. How you doing?
I'm good. In my makeshift.
I think we both kind of have makeshift studios today. I'm after a month, I'm starting to finally get shit put together. It's amazing when you go to get organized, it goes like 50 steps backwards to get one step ahead.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I have shit everywhere. If you saw the rest of the room that I'm in, you'd laugh because it looks like Hoarder Central right now.
James says you're already being an idiot so early.
Shut up, old man. So let me tell you a little bit about James. So James and I have known each other since sixth grade, and I always joke he's a year older than me for 41 days because he was born in 61 and I was born in 62. So his birthday is December 31st. So for this 41 days, he's a year older than me. And I love giving him shit about it. I've been really nice this year. I haven't really said a whole lot, but you're an old fucker, so shut up.
This year, all 6 days of it?
Yeah. So for 41 days, he's a year older than I am.
Oscar wants to know why you're so grumpy this morning.
I don't know. Just the way it is.
That time of the month.
Yeah, time of the week.
How was your week?
It's good. It's good. Busy. Got a lot of work done. Got a couple of houses that we're getting ready to put on the market. One in South Sac. Got a couple in Rancho and Rosemont that I'm waiting for the owner to decide when he wants to.
Fun fact: in the one in Rancho, there's actually 2 people that have already interested in buying it, so you may not even have to list the house in Rancho. Maybe just a paperwork thing, but
cool.
But yeah, so
anyway, what about you? How was your you had a big move this week?
Been moving all week, still moving. I'd say we're about 75% done. But it's been fun. It's been cool to kind of put the house together and get everything going. Like I said earlier, the studio's makeshift. I'm in my bedroom, sitting on my bed with moving crates as a desk. That'll
but
change.
You did get the important stuff done, right?
Yeah, I got the show set up. Exactly. But
that was cool. That backlight that you posted, that was kind of cool.
Oh, on the TV? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, only up from here, so it'll be pretty cool. Big shout out to Nolan and Chad. They had episode 1 of Tank Talk yesterday.
That was awesome. I listened for about 10 minutes. It was
fantastic job. And that actually leads us right into this. Due to the success of Tank Talk and the interest in after hours and everything else that we've been doing here lately, we've decided to start or I guess I should say I decided, you just found out about it today, but the Sports Talk 916 network, we're going to expand the show. Instead of after hours and Tank Talk being under our umbrella of the same RSS feed and the same iTunes feed, we're actually going to separate the 3, and they're all going to have their own show under the same umbrella and the same family. So expect that to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So there will be a Sports Talk 916 show as you know it now. There will be a Sports Talk 916 After Hours show by itself, and as of right now, the only new show will be Tank Talk with Nolan and Chad. And that will be an ongoing, probably bi-weekly podcast, unless the demand is higher, then they may go on more. But right now, they're planning on doing a bi-weekly. and it'll be fun. So we may branch out even further than that. We'll see how it goes, but right now we're looking at hopefully in the next month or so we'll go ahead and launch the network, and we'll have a nice little family of shows starting out here. So that'll be pretty cool.
That's very cool. I'm excited about that.
You know what? I think we're gonna need a TJ the Sports Geek podcast as well. So TJ, you might need to start planning that. You've been talking about it for months, and I've heard you talk about wanting to do a podcast. And when will there be Sports Talk 916 on Espanol? Oscar, we're going to need to just send you the transcripts of every show, and you're going to need to record them and send them back to us so that they can be broadcast in SAP. But yeah, so exciting things coming in 2019. We warned you guys in 2019 you're going to see a lot more of us, and that's part of it. So it should be nice and fun. But let's get into something not so fun, and that is... I guess I should have hit this little button when we have an announcement, huh? Kings talk. Sacramento Kings. Losers now 4 straight. What's the worst about these 4 straight is the fact that the Sacramento Kings have had a lead in all 4 of those games in the fourth quarter, and they've lost that lead to the Lakers. It was to the Lakers. It was to the Blazers, I want to say.
Yep. The Nuggets,
and now the Warriors. Hey, Barn Bomb's on. What the hell?
No,
a new year.
Listen, and look at him. He's going bilingual too.
Mike, your audition's too late. Oscar already got the SAP button scheduled. TJ says, hoping to have more time to do when my schedule clears up, as I'm now working 6 days a week and on select weekends. TJ, whenever you're ready, man, it'll open up for you.
And TJ, I can teach you how to bend your brim on your hat so it doesn't hit your glasses too. We had a little discussion. We had a little discussion last night on Facebook about how to wear a baseball hat.
Perfect. So what's wrong with the Kings? Why can they? I mean, is it because they're young? Is it because is it the coaching? Is it the players? Is it the fans that are pissing everybody off and they're just saying, fuck you to the fans? What is going on right now with the Sacramento Kings that they cannot hold on to a fourth quarter lead? They have the talent. They have the coaching, in my opinion, to close these games out. I think a lot of it, and Doug Christie mentions it all the time, and it's clock awareness and how to close games out, not necessarily in a basketball sense, but more of a fundamental timekeeping sense. What do you feel is the issue right now with this Sacramento team?
First, I don't think there's an issue. I think, and I've said this a lot, this is a 500 team. So this team is going to win a couple. They're going to lose a couple. Every team has, and who said this last night? Henry Turner said this, I think, on the postgame show. Maybe he's on the pregame. Anyway, he said it last night. He said, all teams are going to lose 3 or 4 games in a row. That's just part of the NBA. It's not having a 9 or 10 or 11 game losing streak that is gonna hurt you. There's nothing wrong with this team. This team is a 500 team. They're gonna win 3 or 4 in a row.
They're going to lose 3 right now.
Well, you know what I mean. They don't know how to close out games. They have to go through that step of the process. Excuse me. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're probably a little bit lower on the basketball IQ scale than a lot of the other teams in the NBA. And I think that, again, is just experience. I mean, Zebo's not playing, and that's part of your experience factor. Shumpert hasn't been playing all that much. That's a lot of your experience. We're relying on guys that are 2 or 3 years into the league to be our leaders, and they don't know how to do it. So there's nothing wrong with this team. This is a logical step in the process, and fans just have to learn you can't go from 17 wins to 60 wins in one season. It doesn't work that way. So I don't see anything wrong with this team. I think it's just a natural part of the progression. I watched the game last night, and when I turned it on, we were down it was 40-28. And then I kind of went off and did some stuff, and I came back, and it was tied. And I thought to myself, last year at this time, it would have been that 12-point lead would have turned into a 35-point lead. So for them to battle back, I mean, I don't believe in moral victories, but if I did, this last week is as good as 4 victories because they're learning. And
Agreed.
now the test is going to be in 20 or 30 games. Are they still going to be doing this? If so, then there's a little bit more of a concern, but I still think it's a learning process, and that process has gotta play out. And I think this time next year we're going to look back going, I remember last year where we blew that lead and we didn't keep it. Where this year we're turning that we're never getting down by 20 and having to come back and hit a miracle shot. We're not losing those leads. We're, playing tight against the world champion, 2-time defending world champion with a full team together.
Right.
We're playing them tight and we're coming out ahead and we're winning. So I don't see there's nothing wrong with this team. I think this is a logical progression, and I like it. I like what I'm seeing.
And TJ hit the nail on the head right here. And I'm trying to get it to show up on the screen, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be working. They're only eight wins away from their total of all last season. They just learned how to keep a lead and learn from their mistakes. That includes the coaches. And earlier, Oscar said the Kings are missing Bagley, and I think that's a huge part of it. They're
absolutely.
I was listening to pregame live last night, and Henry Turner made a comment about everyone getting all over Willie Cauley-Stein and he's rebounding and this and that. And he didn't shy away from the fact that Willie is, soft when it comes to rebounding. He did hint at, making that comment, but he made a really good point, and that was, if you look at the DeAndre Jordans, if you look at the, he mentioned a few other people, I can't remember who it was now, but basically anyone that's a big rebounder in this league, like someone that leads the league in rebounds, and he made a point that they have their offense is based around the rim. They don't ever leave the paint. That's why they're able to get a lot more rebounds. Willie, his offense, his range floats around a little bit. He's not strictly a post-up player. And, he made it very clear that if you're not going to have an offense that allows your center to be in the paint, then there has to be team rebounding, which means Fox has to go from 3 to 5. Buddy has to go from 4 to 6. Justin Jackson, who's been rebounding great, has to up his numbers by 1 or 2. But, to help Willie out, but at the same time, Willie needs to find the intensity on rebounding. And I know he's mentioned it, it's a mental thing for him. And, Henry Turner said, he made a great point. He said, who is arguably the best rebounder in the history of basketball?
I was reading the comment by James. Best rebounder in the history of basketball, Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, let me say this. Under 7 foot, who is arguably the best rebounder in all of basketball?
Currently playing or?
No, history.
Charles Barkley?
No.
I don't
Dennis
know.
Rodman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dennis Rodman was 6'9", and he approached rebounding as if he would get paid only if he rebounded. And he went into it with an intensity that said, every time the ball hits the rim, it's going to be my ball. And he was going up against true 7-footers. Olajuwon, Ewing, Mourning. He had to go up against guys like Barkley and Moses Malone and Karl Malone and, insert name here, these guys that are actual 7-footer. Shaq, the guys that lived around the rim, and he would out-rebound all of them. And it's a heart thing. That's what he wanted to do. And it means that TJ put the worm in there that affected me. He needs to find that intensity, that want, and he needs to work. Henry Turner said something too about the fact that he needs to work on finding a way to learn the carom, learn where the ball's going to go off the rim. And that was one thing about Dennis Rodman that I remember seeing this when I used to follow the Bulls as a kid. He would literally stand under the basket watching shots, and he would predict without going for the rebound. He would just stand at the free throw line and watching the team shoot three-pointers, and he would yell out where they're going to go. That one's going in, that one's going left, that one's short, that one's long, that one's right. and he would predict the bounce of the ball to make sure that he was understanding the trajectory and all that other stuff, so he knew where to rebound. And I don't think players do that anymore. They don't focus on the fine tuning of their craft. So, it kind of helped me maybe take a little bit of heat off of Willie. Willie had a great game last night. I mean, he was a big part of the game last night. So I'm definitely not mad at him, for the way that he played. But the team needs to help Willie out. If that's not going to be his strong suit and he's not going to get you 15 rebounds a game, then you know what? Maybe the team needs to come together and go, okay, you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to make it an effort. Can sources confirm that Bull is a Bull? No, I was always a Kings fan, but I was a very big fan of Jordan and the Pippen combination. So, I mean, Willie last night had 13 rebounds. For Willie, that's great, but can he string that out over the next 3 or 4 games or 5 games, against questionable opponents? Oscar says Costa didn't play much these past 2 games. Do you feel the Kings will give more minutes to Giles? I like Giles. He needs more quality minutes if he's a part of the future. He needs more playing time. If he's going to develop into what they want him to be, he has to play. He can't get better on the practice court. It's like, Oscar, a good way to explain that would be like with Carlos, your son. For him to get better, he needs to play against competition that's better for him. Yep. We watch or we see your posts all the time about, his Yellow Jackets team or even now his Elk Grove team going up against teams that are much bigger than them and much, maybe a little bit more talented than them because they've been playing together longer. Those kids aren't going to get better at basketball unless they're playing competition that's like that. And I think that's the same thing with Giles. He needs to go up against outside competition. It cannot be the team over and over and over again. For him to get better. You don't get better in practice. You fine tune what you're doing in practice, but you need the actual competition in order to get better. So I think Giles will be fine. I think, Giles is going to be exciting when he starts to get those minutes. I think Bagley's going to be huge. But what I want to know is, as the season progresses, do the Kings need to be active at the trade deadline?
Well, if you ask people on social media, they have to trade everybody because everybody sucks, and we need to get. I saw one today that said they need to. God, who was it? Something like you need to trade Zebo and Costa for.
Enes Kanter, right?
No, it was the guy who played for the Warriors and then got traded to the. Harrison Barnes. It was Costa and Zebo to the Mavs for Harrison Barnes and their 20 and 22 first-round draft picks.
Right.
So, no, I don't think they need to. I think.
And then there was something. I mean, to piggyback off of that, before you talk about why they don't need to, like you said, if you ask the fans, there was also another one because Bleacher Report put something out the other day that said. The Kings may be interested in going after making a deal with Charlotte to send Zebo, Kosta Koufos, and Ben McLemore to the Hornets for Frank Kaminsky and Nicholas Batum's contract. Yeah, Nicholas Batum doesn't fit this at all, and Frank Kaminsky is just a bump on the log. I mean, that guy's not going to help us. I'd rather have Willie.
I'd rather have Costa. I mean,
I'd rather have Kosta Koufos too.
Yeah, he's Kosta Koufos. I think if they do go after somebody, it needs to be a rebounder. It needs to be somebody who's got some experience, but I don't think you mess with the chemistry that this team has. And like we've talked about, they're in the middle of a process. And I know that term has been thrown around a lot with Philadelphia the last few years, but this is a process and every team goes through it and you have to take steps. You can't go from A to Z or A to S or A to M in one step. You have to take every step along the way. And right now, they've gone a lot for. Did you think that they were going to be a 500 team this point when the team started?
They're under 500.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know. No, and no one did. No one thought that they were going to be a under 500 team. It just wasn't going to.
So this team has made a lot of steps, and like TJ said earlier, they just have to learn how to close things out. And there really doesn't need to be a big trade unless you can get rid of McLemore or you can get rid of somebody who's not contributing. and pick up somebody that might contribute a little bit. But you're not going to make a big splash because you don't need to.
I agree.
I think you ride this out, see what they do by the end of the year. We got a ton of cap space coming up next year. So they can do something there, but you don't want to bring in. You got to get somebody that fits the way that they want to play, and you can't get a big old slow-footed ox that's not going to be able to run in with this group. It's got to be somebody who can run the floor.
Right, I agree totally with that. Let's pay a bill real quick, and then we're going to get into the NBA All-Star Game and how it's a big-ass joke.
If you or anyone you know is thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, they deserve to have someone working with them that not only knows what they're doing, but will explain everything that happens along the way. That person would be me, Coach Greg Veroza of Keller Williams Realty. I have two goals. My first goal is to coach you through the buying and selling process, making it easy to understand and as stress-free as possible, which isn't easy sometimes. My second goal is to have fun doing it. Come be a part of my team. Let me coach you or anyone you know through the real estate process. Give me a call at 916-241-8068, and let's talk about how I can coach you through the real estate process. Let me ask you one question. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I should know right now? Again, that's Greg Veroza, Keller Williams Realty, 916-241-8068.
All right. So NBA All-Star voting. The first returns came out, and it is 100% apparent that they need to change the way that All-Star voting is done. The fan vote, while it is only 50% of the vote, is ridiculous, and in my opinion, needs to go away. Oscar, you says Bagley believes you believe Bagley comes back tomorrow. They were talking on the pregame live last night that he's still a week away. I don't know if that's just sandbagging it or not, but they say he's still a week and a half away from resuming normal basketball activities. But from what I understand, he's been at practice, so I'm not sure what the hell they're talking about. But let's look at this the Western All-Star first returns on fan voting. And there's a couple that stand out. One in the front court. Two in the front court are, is it 10th? How many are on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of the top 10 in the front court for the West, DeMarcus Cousins is currently at 10th for All-Star voting. Let me tell you something that's interesting about DeMarcus Cousins right now. His stat line for the season, he's played 0 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
His stat line is all the way across the board zeros.
Yeah.
But he's at a .02 for technical fouls. He has that one technical. That's the only stat he's registered, yet he's 10th in All-Star voting for the front court.
Well, okay, people want excitement, and that's, players getting
the next one that pisses me off about this is Draymond Green. Draymond was sent home by the Warriors because of issues with the teammates. He hasn't been having a great year at all. He's actually been having probably one of the worst years of his career, yet he's 9th.
Yeah, I can see that, though. I mean, when he does play, even his bad year, he's still a pretty good player.
But here's the one that bothers me on the front court more than anything.
Where you're going.
In second place of vote getters, only behind LeBron James, who's at 1,083,363 votes. That was at first return. At 679,000 votes, 20,000 more than Kevin Durant, is Luka Doncic.
Those are all Kings fans that voted for him.
Right. That's Sammy Spearman, who's just voting over and over and over again. How the fuck is Luka Doncic, who he's not even an All-Star reserve this year? He's a rookie. He should play in the rookie game, but there's no way he's a starting All-Star in this system.
Look at take that list and look at who's at 9th in the front court. 8th or 9th?
Draymond Green?
No. In the backcourt.
Yeah, 8th. Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, that's the one that gets me. I can see Doncic just because, I don't know.
There's one that gets me worse than Lonzo Ball. And James just hit it on the head. Derrick Rose is in second place on this list, above James Harden by 145,000 votes.
Jesus Christ.
Derrick Rose is over James Harden, and he's almost doubling Russell Westbrook. Look, I love Derrick Rose. Injuries never would have derailed his career the way they did. I was actually petitioning for the Kings to try to make a run for Derrick Rose before we drafted De'Aaron Fox. I thought this would be a great place for him to revitalize his career. But by no means is he better than James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, or Chris Paul. And Chris Paul's hurt. He's not been playing.
Wow. That's
Nick Hicks hit it on the head. I wish the fucking broadcast thing was working where we can show comments, because Nick Hicks just said Luka's whole country is voting for him, plus his nut-hugging Kings fans. Comment of the day goes to Nick Hicks.
Nick Hicks, yeah.
Yeah, way to go, dude. All-star voting is broken. I mean, I think Grant Napier hit it on the head the best. Or it was Doug Christie. I think it was Grant. He said that coaches should vote. Coaching staff should get together and vote, and they're not allowed to vote for players that are on their team.
That's what he used.
The players should have a vote, but they vote for only players in their conference, because there may be a situation where, Frank Mason should not be allowed to vote for someone on like Kemba Walker because they haven't even played the Hornets yet this season.
Right.
So while he's watching on TV, he hasn't got to play against them, so they shouldn't be able to vote for the opposite thing. I think that would probably be ideal, because the voting now obviously it's going to be, the only thing that matters on this essentially is the fact that it's the top vote getters are going to be the captains of the team, and LeBron and Steph both won't be able to be captains this year, obviously, because they were captains last year for one, and LeBron's now in the East, or I'm sorry, now in the West, but they're gonna draft. They're gonna do their draft to take their team in the All-Star game, right? It's not gonna be East versus West. It's just they're gonna have to draft from this pool of players. In the East, I'm not as mad. I mean, except for the fact that second place guard right now is Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade shouldn't be at the top of a list. Ben Simmons can't even make free throws, so he should be lower on the list than fourth. Kyle Lowry's okay. Zach LaVine's not a seventh place or sixth place All-Star. Jeremy Lin, I don't know what kind of year he's having. John Wall. On the other side, Jimmy Butler is fourth. Seriously? Jimmy Butler, who forced his way out of Minnesota, and now he's trying to force his way out of Philly. Fans are still voting for this guy?
He's a fucking train wreck.
Andre Drummond, Vince Carter's on the list. I'm not mad at that one at all, but
I'm just looking back at the comments. James just made a great point. Luka is second because of his hot mom.
That might be accurate.
Yeah. Not bad, old man.
That very well may be accurate. Paul Pierce yesterday said fans should be reduced from 25%, 50% players, and 25% media. See, I would rather the media not have a say in it, because the media has a huge presence. If Grant Napier got on and said, "Oh, I'm voting for Luka Doncic," and everyone would be like, "Oh, Grant's doing it, I'm going to do it too," and the fans would follow. But I think it should be a silent vote, and I think it should be hey, it popped up, it's working again. It should be a coaches, players, and then a small percentage of the fan vote. It should not be the way it is right now.
And I'm kind of over the whole All-Star game anyway. I mean, to me, the only good thing about the All-Star game is a team going to score 200 points. I mean, it's not basketball. What's that?
And that will be awesome if that happens.
Yeah. And I think it'll happen this year. I can see 202, 203 points by the winning team. The All-Star game is, I mean, I don't know. Have you watched the last couple years?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. And I haven't either. So, I don't know. I just think the All-Star game I think it's past its prime. I don't like the picking of teams. I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over the All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over it as well. It's pretty ridiculous. For some reason, your scroller is stuck on the show, so now everyone's just getting Williams.
I know. I saw that. I was kind of
Oh,
happy
wait.
about that. So keep going.
Yeah, we'll just leave it on there as long as it'll let us, I guess. That's weird. I don't know. Let me see if I can just delete your thing if it goes away.
Oh, man.
Let's see what is next. So NBA All-Star is a joke. Let's shift gears. Let's talk a little football because something came out over the weekend that I thought was pretty interesting, and it's kind of like a mid-season or like end of season award, but it's more like the major accomplishments of the season. I want you to give me your opinion on some of these because some of them actually blew my mind. These are the 5 craziest stats and records broken in 2018. Okay. Number 1, DeAndre Hopkins of the Houston Texans. First of all, he donated his entire playoff bonus to that family of that little girl.
Very cool. That was very cool.
But listen to this. Since they started recording drops in 2007 in the NFL, he had the season with the most receptions without a drop. DeAndre Hopkins was targeted 115 times this year.
Okay.
He had 115 catches. He dropped 0 he was targeted obviously more because Hopkins doesn't know how to throw the damn ball. I mean, that was apparent yesterday. Or Watson doesn't know how to throw the ball, but he did not drop a single pass in 2018. Every ball that hit his hands, he caught. 115 catches, 1,572 yards, and 11 touchdowns this year.
That's amazing.
Pretty damn remarkable.
That's awesome. I like that.
Number 4, the Iron QB of 2018. Russell Wilson played every single snap in 2018 at quarterback. He's the only quarterback in the NFL to do that this year.
Wow.
He's also never missed a single game or a start in his 7 years as a pro.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Seattle's been pretty. I mean, they mentioned it a couple times on the game last night that their philosophy is let's run the ball. Yeah, and they've except when it's 4th and goal on the 2,
right?
In the Super Bowl, their philosophy is run the ball, and they've had some pretty amazing running backs. So he doesn't have to throw as much, and therefore he doesn't get hit as much. So, but he does run a lot. So that's amazing. I like that.
Let's see. Patrick Mahomes. In his first season as Chiefs starting quarterback, Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns, 5,097 yards. He's one of only 3 quarterbacks to ever throw for 50 touchdowns in a season, joining Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in this club.
Bad. That's pretty amazing.
Let's see here. George Kittle broke 2 records on the final day of the season. Kittle set a single season NFL record for receiving yards by a tight end at 1,377. And a franchise record for receptions by a tight end at 88. Travis Kelce had broke the tight end receiving yards earlier in that day, but lost it to Kittle less than an hour later.
Yeah.
So that means there's 2 tight ends over 1,300 receiving yards for a season. That's ridiculous.
It shows you how important that having a good tight end. I mean, let me rephrase that because it didn't really help the Niners all that much. But how important the tight end has become in this kind of offense right now is if everybody's too far down the field or covered, that tight end, coaches are using that tight end to open things up a little bit.
Right. And a report came out earlier about the Niners maybe trading, or earlier this week about interest in maybe Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. A lot of fans were, and we could get to that. I didn't even have that on our agenda today, but a lot of fans were like, we need a number one. We need a number one. Well, the Niners have a number 1 wide receiver option, and that's George Kittle. They need a number 1 wide receiver, but they have a number 1 receiving option.
Number 1 receiving option, yeah. No.
And then the last one, 12 playoff teams every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
7 of this year's playoff teams are new to the playoffs. Only 5 return. This year, the fresh faces are the Ravens, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Colts. 7 of the last 20 Super Bowl winners have been new playoff teams. The 2017 Eagles were the last new playoff team to win a Super Bowl. So 7 in, 7 out. I mean, that seems to be the trend. It's normally 4 in, 4 out.
4 in, 4 out.
7 in, 7 out this year for the NFL playoffs.
Last year, I think it was 8. I think last year was 8 new ones.
And then I got 2 more. These ones are painful. 1 good, 1 bad. Mike, we'll get back to that here in a second. Ravens free safety Eric Weddle got $1 million bonus on the very final play of the game against the Browns. but he needed to be a Pro Bowler and the Ravens make the playoffs to initiate his $1 million bonus. Last year, Weddle lost the $1 million playoff bonus when the Bengals scored on a final touchdown at 44 seconds left. This year, bonuses Weddle was secured with 104 remaining when the Ravens versus Browns in Week 17. On the flip side to that, this player lost his $1 million bonus. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Nick Foles of the Philadelphia Eagles would have received a $1 million bonus if the Eagles made the playoffs, and he played 33% of the team snaps. The Eagles made the postseason in dramatic fashion, but Foles had to leave the Eagles' Week 17 game early due to a rib injury. As a result, he only played 32% of the Eagles' snaps on offense this season, so therefore he misses out on his $1 million bonus by 1%.
And that's got to be probably, 10 snaps? No, not even that.
Not even that.
Probably 5 or 6.
It's our fault because we talked about how Foles has been unable to be hurt and why he's going to take Wentz's job next year.
Right.
And by the way, that was topic of conversation. The entire pregame on that game was, does Nick Foles earn the job next year and you get rid of Carson Wentz? So somebody listens to Sports Talk 916.
We know that. Yeah, so just confirm
that means they had it on in the broadcast booth.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's see. Barnbaum says, what do you two think the 49ers have to do in the offseason to get back into the postseason contention a year from now? What do you think?
Well, first they have to stay healthy.
Oh, James says 4 more snaps would have got him that 1%.
Oh, wow. They got to stay healthy. I mean, that's the number one key. And they made a move to do that. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but they fired their strength and conditioning coach this week.
That needed to be done in week 5.
Yeah.
That was probably the most important thing that they could have done this whole offseason was firing that strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah. So they need to stay healthy. That's the first thing. I think they need a playmaker at wide receiver. I think even with the guys that were hurt, they don't have a playmaker. They need an Antonio Brown type that's not Antonio Brown. And those just don't grow on trees. I think need.
Why not Antonio Brown? Why not give him a fresh start? Why not bring him in? Immediately make Jimmy Garoppolo have a weapon that he needs.
He's a
put him at the top.
He's a cancer.
Is he?
Yes, he is.
Because everything that's ever revolved around anything, go back and look at any story coming out of Pittsburgh of any kind of turmoil. There's 2 names that are mentioned as the start of the issue, not the person that's having the issue. That's Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
Those
this morning, I was listening
to the root of everything that has come out of Pittsburgh in the last 5 years.
I was
Whether
listening to
it's
Ryan
Clark, Harrison, and Antonio Brown, it's all been revolving around the relationship that Tomlin and Roethlisberger have, because Roethlisberger can do nothing wrong in the eyes of Mike Tomlin, regardless if it's detrimental to the team or not. He gets a free pass, and that's what's been pissing off everybody around him.
Yeah, I was listening to Ryan Clark this morning on NFL Game Day or whatever their ESPN show is, Countdown, and he's got a lot of. He's former Pittsburgh Steeler, and he said that he noticed a difference in Antonio Brown the minute he signed his big contract. That he got paid. He said that he's a hard worker. He does everything that he needs to do. Josh hit it on the head. He's a diva, and there was a change in him when he got paid, and he started sulking when JoJo Smith-Schuster started being successful. Juju Smith-Schuster. He started sulking when Roethlisberger started targeting him, and a lot of the attention came off of Brown. So maybe he does change his attitude once he gets here, because he will be the shining star. I don't know. I don't want that kind of attitude on the team. I just don't think it's – I think it's more harm than good. The other parts of it, I think, like I said, I think that defensively you need a pass rushing defensive end.
Okay.
I
The
think
Niners have the number 2 pick, and
Right.
by all accounts, on early reads right now of what the Cardinals are going to do at 1, there's a very, very high probability that Nick Bosa will be available at 2 to the 49ers.
really, what are they saying that I haven't heard?
Alabama's left tackle is apparently the coveted player right now for Arizona to protect Josh Rosen going forward.
Oh, okay.
Or right guard or left, one of the offensive linemen on Alabama.
Okay.
So if that's the case, the Niners defensive end, or they trade back 2 or 3 spots, and they get one of those guys out of Clemson who nobody can block,
right?
And you shore up that front line, but
which would help your secondary. Linebacking is probably our strength, and I think if you throw in a good defensive end pass rusher, it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the defensive backs. Now, with that being said, I also said a couple of weeks ago that you should trade down and stock up on picks too. So, I think they're a few steps away, but again, they have cap space. They don't have a lot of draft picks.
They don't. But let me ask you this: if they wait till June 1st, because that will be the day that the Steelers will wait until June 1st to make a move on Antonio Brown, because it goes from a $21 million dead cap hit to a $6 million dead cap hit if they wait till after June. If you trade with Pittsburgh, you trade your 1 for their 1, which is around 20, and a second round pick for Antonio Brown. Do you do it?
Well, June 1st is after the draft,
right? So next year it'd be for next year's first. Well, let me ask this then: if Pittsburgh is willing to get rid of Antonio Brown, because there are reports coming out of Pittsburgh right now that they're not going to care about the 21 million dead cap hit. They're willing to just swallow it because they want him out of the franchise, out of the situation if they can. So if you do it, if they come to you before the draft and they say, "Hey, we'll give you Antonio Brown in our first for your first, and we'll give you a second as well," do you pull the trigger on that?
I might have to think about
Jimmy
that.
G coming back. You have Jared McKinnon coming back. You have Kittle.
Have to think about that, yeah.
Now let me ask you this then: if the New York Giants call and say, "We'll give you," I think they have the 4th pick. We'll give you the 4th for your second, and Odell Beckham Jr., who just signed a new major deal. I mean, even with that, the Niners' salary cap of $66 million won't be impacted very much.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take Antonio Brown do you take Odell Beckham Jr. for a swap of first-round picks? Him and Marquise Goodwin are very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What do you think?
I'd have to think about that one. Although, given the two, I think I'm just going to contradict myself. Given those two, I think I'd rather have Brown than Beckham.
Beckham's younger, on a better deal. He has a long-term deal already locked up. So you don't have to worry about Brown only having a year or two left on his deal and then leaving. Giants are 5th, sorry. And then James said March 13th, according to Mortensen, is reported today that they are redoing Roethlisberger's deal. So he could be traded early, plus they're gaining $14 million in cap space.
Yeah, that's true. I heard that this morning too. Yeah. I don't know.
I think I take Odell Beckham. Him and Marquise Goodwin are very good friends. I think having one of his best friends on the roster keeps him in check. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has the ability to be like a Eli Manning of 4 or 5 years ago when Odell Beckham was at his best, when he had a quarterback that actually could throw the ball to him. And you put Odell Beckham, Marquise Goodwin, Trent Taylor, George Kittle, and Dante Pettis, who really stepped up this year. Then you still have Bourne, you still have a few of those other guys, Jesse James. You have a pretty formidable wide receiver core right there that you can focus on your defense.
They just need the star. They need a star. They have the depth at receiver. They just need a star.
And then you go and you make Richard Sherman happy, and you go sign Earl Thomas, and you bring in that veteran on the back end of the defense, and maybe another cornerback here or there. Like you said, the linebackers are solid. James mentioned earlier that Solomon Thomas is going to be a beast on the inside. You still have Eric Armstead, who can learn how to do something. The Niners aren't far away. They just need something off. And I think, honestly, and we're talking about players, but the the biggest thing that the 49ers did this year is they got rid of their strength and conditioning coach. The 49ers are team ACL. There's like 7 ACLs this season. And injuries galore. This team could not stay healthy. And a lot of people were calling for this guy's head early in the year. And surprised that they let him go that far. The other player that they wanted to get rid of, or the other person that fans wanted to get rid of, and Kyle Shanahan announced earlier this week that they're keeping him, was Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator. He's going to be retained. What's up, dude? Let's see. William Shields here. What's up, Will? Billy? What's up, guys? Do my Saints have enough mojo to get past the Cowgirls at home in the Dome? Thanks. I picked the Saints to be my NFC championship or NFC Super Bowl team earlier this year. I'm still going to ride the Saints. I still think it's Saints Chargers in the Super Bowl. And I have the Saints winning. I have the Saints beating any team in the AFC in the Super Bowl if they can make it there.
Yeah, my picks are gone. I think I had the Vikings and the Chiefs. So half of mine. I saw the Chiefs. It's funny. The all the guys that you mentioned about adding have had incidents. Some kind of, not off the field, but some kind of attitude incident over the last couple of years. And I think then you get a bigger question is, do you think you can, one, can you handle those attitudes? And two, is it worth bringing them in to win football games? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, we've had some issues with attitude. We've had issues with players that are crappy people. I'm not saying any of those guys that you brought in, you mentioned are crappy people. They just had a lot of attitude issues. And I'm just sure, one flipping off the team as he gets carted off after a broken leg last year.
Right.
So
Barnbaum wants to know where we think that the Raiders play next season. He thinks Sam Boyd Stadium in Henderson. I believe that's where University of Nevada plays. That's already been ruled out, so they're not going to play there. They just don't have the concessions or the infrastructure to hold an NFL team. I honestly, truly believe it's going to be either at Levi Stadium or AT&T Park. I think they stay in the Bay Area one more year. They find a way to be close to their fan base. I think the long shot or the backup plan is London. I think they play all their home games in London.
I agree with you 100% on that. And I think they play Jacksonville next year too. I heard that. And that game could easily be played in Europe. So,
yes, because the Jaguars have just as much of a love affair playing games away from their home fans as the Raiders do. So,
yeah, exactly. So I can see that happening. I can see, I think the number one option is AT&T. I think number two is Levi, and I agree with you 100% that I think the third option is London.
Yep. James says AT&T Park. Barnbaum says top of the hour, CBS 13, Chargers at Ravens. The best thing you can find on Facebook right now is the video that Melvin Gordon Jr. posted last night in his Uber of his Uber driver talking shit about the Chargers and how they're not good and how Phillip Rivers is going to be terrible and they're going to get beat, and then basically just kind of shutting off Gordon when he asked him about how he feels about the Chargers running back, and then totally recanting his words when he goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm Melvin Gordon." And he's like, "Oh, can I get an autograph and a selfie?" And it was hilarious. You should definitely go check it out. It's like a 4-minute video. It's awesome.
I'll have to look it up.
The Raiders in Mexico City. I think there's with everything that's going on right now with Mexico, I think that's just too risky. And then Azteca Stadium was terrible. Their field was so bad that there's no way they can sustain 8 games on that field. It's just they can barely withstand soccer on that field, and soccer doesn't have 8 300-pounders pushing each other around back and forth.
Yeah,
in the trenches on those fields. So I think Mexico City's out strictly for the fact that it's a shithole field.
Yeah.
Black Monday. We had Black Monday this week.
Yes, we did.
And, you owe me a comeuppance because I said Marvin Lewis was going to get the axe, and you said, "Oh no, he's safe. And I said they brought in Hugh Jackson because there's rumblings in Cincy, and you said no. So I'll wait because you owe me you were right because he was the first coach, second coach behind Tampa Bay to get the axe.
That I was surprised. According again, that's what I get for listening to all the talking heads on TV. They all thought that he was safe. So yes, you were right. I was mistaken. But God, can you imagine if Hugh Jackson gets that job? I mean, what kind? He's got to have naked pictures of somebody that he's holding on to because 1-31 for a 2-year stretch, and he still is getting named in coaching searches.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Raiders should play at Santa Clara next year. That's from Oscar. Barnbaum says, I'm not so sure AT&T Park was built for football, especially a whole season. Well, Cal played all their games there for a full season. It's fine. Cal did it for 5 games in 2011 when Memorial Stadium went under renovations. There you go, TJ. Let's see. Other coaches that lost their job. Miami's Adam Gase was fired.
Mm-hmm.
Candidates to watch right now are apparently Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. So there's that. Denver Broncos Vance Joseph was fired, and there's a lot of talk about the Rooney Rule and the fact that of all the coaches, like 2 of them were African American, and it's depleting the coaching circle and all this other stuff in the NFL. Vance Joseph was only given 1 season in Denver. They didn't perform. I mean, they went out and they got
Josh Stanford is too small. Stanford's too small.
Well, the Raiders only get 50,000 people anyways.
That's true.
They went out and got Case Keenum in Denver, and I don't think that it's fair to put that on their coach because that's a John Elway move, and that totally didn't work out for him.
Should John Elway's job be in jeopardy?
Yeah, I think so. So get this. So candidate to watch on the Denver Broncos, and this is pretty surprising. Mike Shanahan, who's currently retired. This is assuming that the Broncos can't land John Harbaugh, who John Elway is reportedly pursuing. Elway's best years in Denver's front office were with Gary Kubiak, whom Elway was very familiar. If they pull Mike Shanahan out of retirement to coach them, I think John Elway loses his job next season.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be terrible. Steve Wilkes was fired by Arizona. So was offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich and defensive coordinator Al Holcomb.
And Wilkes only had 1 year too, right?
Yep. The sources say that the Cardinals have put in a request to interview Rams quarterback coach Zach Taylor for their head coaching vacancy. Taylor will be interviewed on Saturday. Let's see. Zach Taylor, blah, blah, blah. So apparently the Cardinals wanted Sean McVay to be the replacement for Bruce Arians, but the Rams beat him to it. So now they're going after their quarterback coach. The Jets fired Todd Bowles, another African-American coach that was fired this year.
But I think out of all of them, I mean, he
was the most deserving.
Yeah, he had his chance. He had more than enough opportunity to turn that team around. And there's some talent there. He just didn't do a good job.
Yep. Mike McCarthy is the candidate to watch there. I still think Mike McCarthy should be the lead candidate for the Browns job, honestly.
That's what I've heard. I could see that.
Tampa Bay fired Dirk Cutter. Candidate to watch there is Chris Richard, Cowboys defensive backs coach. That's retarded. Packers lead candidate Josh McDaniels, who apparently rejected multiple requests to interview for the Colts and someone else because he doesn't feel that the grass is greener on the other side. If Josh McDaniels turns down any head coaching positions this season, it means that Bill Belichick is basically waiting for Tom Brady to step away. That's when he's going to retire, and I believe Josh McDaniels feels that he's the heir apparent to the throne.
I can't remember, but I think he's already turned down. He's already turned down somebody this year.
Yeah, he turned down Indianapolis, if I believe.
No, that was last year. That was last year.
He turned someone down this year already.
He was hired in Indianapolis. And right before the press conference, he said, "Nah, never mind."
Yeah. So I think that Josh McDaniels is simply waiting for his chance atop the throne in New England. The Browns fired Hugh Jackson after week 8. They have interviewed interim head coach Greg Williams for the full-time job. But it looks like the candidate to watch, according to this report, is Freddie Kitchens, who's their current offensive coordinator.
Do you think? I mean, Greg Williams did a good job. I mean, he's a douchebag and he's an idiot, but he turned. I mean, that team turned around once they fired Hugh Jackson.
Yeah,
do you give Williams a shot at that job?
Yeah, I mean, they interviewed him. I mean, why not? He seems to have the respect of his guys. The other two that people thought for sure would be fired were the Jacksonville Jaguars. Owner Shad Khan announced that executive president Tom Coughlin, GM Dave Caldwell, and head coach Doug Marrone will all return to 2019 positions. And the second one was Riverboat Ron. A lot of people thought Riverboat Ron Rivera, would be gone, and they announced that he will be back for his 2019 season as well. So very, very, very active in the NFL. And then the Raiders go out and they was it Mike Mayock as their general manager, which makes absolutely zero sense to me.
It doesn't. It makes 100% sense. They don't want somebody.
Is what he's going to be.
He's going to be. I heard it mentioned over the week. You know, Mike Mayock's job is going to be, hey John, what do you want in your coffee? Cream, sugar? Do you want it black? What do you want for breakfast? I mean, that's going to be his job because Gruden runs the show. So Mayock is going to be in charge of, I don't know, the draft probably. Yeah. He's going to be in charge of the draft, which actually isn't a bad thing because that's what Mayock's job has been over the last few years, is analyzing the draft. And we've all said it that Gruden's weakness is the draft. So bring in somebody who. What's that?
TJ said Greg Williams at least deserves an interview, and he's already been interviewed.
Yeah. Bring in somebody that knows the draft because Gruden doesn't. And maybe it's not a bad hire, but after the draft is over, his job is going to be basically being an errand boy for John Gruden.
So more importantly, the NFL needs to force, and I mean physically force, HBO or Showtime, whoever does it, to get the Raiders on Hard Knocks. When they're in the season transitioning to Vegas and the last season, wherever the hell they're playing, that needs to be documented for everybody to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome.
And we haven't hit this button in a long, long, long time, and it feels good to be ready to hit this button.
Damn it, Barn Bomb.
Yeah.
Mike, if you would have been around and listening to our shows the last month where you've been MIA, you would have known that we covered the Sac State hiring of Troy Taylor last week. And we had a big segment on, is it going to hurt Folsom High School because they're also losing their offensive coordinator? And we already predicted that Sac State is going to be much better with Troy Taylor under the helm. So welcome back, Mike. But you're a little behind.
A little late to the party.
Let's see real quick here before we get too far ahead of ourselves. We need to pay another little bill here. If you're looking to buy a home, refinance a home, looking to see if you can even get qualified for a home, you need to give Albert Chavez a call. He has been instrumental in both of my home purchases. He's helped Greg on a number of deals. He's made it extremely easy and quick, very fast closing. We closed in roughly 16 days on this deal, and that was with VA funding, which is completely unheard of. So if you're looking for a quick, easy process, you call Albert Chavez, 916-230-1537, and keep an eye out for him on Facebook as well, because he's starting up a little informational podcast, as well as a new program that he's rolling out. We've shared it a bunch of times. Go check it out on our Facebook page, or go to our website, sportstalk916.com, click on his face, and get all the information you can. Again, Albert Chavez, 916-230-1537.
And he put out some information the other day, and I looked through it. Biology, 9 steps to buying a home. Spot on. Good stuff. I read through some of it the other day, and it's right on. So go check out his Facebook page, and go Go read the biology, the study of 9 steps to buying a home. It's good stuff.
For sure. Let's see. Wildcard weekend's here. If we would have been carrying on our NFL picks, I would have been extremely embarrassed. I'm 0-2 on the weekend. I took the Texans and the Seahawks both to win. Both of them did not win. And it was
I would have been 1-1.
It was actually a pretty good weekend. I'm shocked that the Texans didn't show up. Deshaun Watson looked rattled. He looked nervous. Indy was able to run all over him, which was crazy. And Andrew Luck looked like the Andrew Luck that everyone expected him to be a number of years ago. I mean, which is crazy because as of last year at this time, Andrew Luck was contemplating even returning to football. He had been out for 13 months. He wasn't sure he was going to return. He didn't have the heart for it, he said. And Andrew Luck, I feel, is back in his true form.
Definitely.
Did you get a chance to watch these games this weekend?
Yeah, I did actually. I watched quite a bit of the Colts game. I was shocked that Houston, like you said, didn't show up to play at all. They were horrible.
Do they have any chance going to Kansas City?
Who? Baltimore?
No,
Or Indianapolis?
The Colts.
The Colts? No, none whatsoever. Well, no, I take that back.
It's Patrick Mahomes' first dance as well, or second dance in the playoffs. But
it was his first season. I mean,
true.
So it was his first season. So he stepped over that hurdle already. Kansas City's defense is so hit and miss. I think the key to that game is going to be can the Colts defense stop Mahomes? And can they take Travis Kelce away from Mahomes? And if they can, then they stand a chance. If they can't take Kelce away from Mahomes, they don't have a shot.
Absolutely. Agreed.
They don't have a shot.
That game was fun. It was a nice little warm-up game to the Seahawks Cowboys game. I was actually, and this doesn't sit well with 49er fans, but I was actually rooting for Seattle. As much as I hate the Seahawks, my hatred for the Cowboys just runs that much deeper. And, I was rooting for him. Russell Wilson looked good. I mean, it's just their defense couldn't stop Dak. And they, I think the worst thing that happened to the Seahawks was also the worst thing that happened to the Cowboys, and that was the gruesome injury to Allen Hurns.
Yeah.
Once Hurns broke his ankle, and I give credit to Fox for only showing it the one time. They didn't realize that it was as bad as it was. They played the replay. Joe Buck was like, basically, I'm surprised. I am thoroughly shocked that Joe Buck didn't drop an F-bomb, because if you go back and listen to it, there was a delay. He was like, oh, sheesh, or whatever, he like some other like filler word, and then they immediately went to commercial. I feel like he was that close to dropping an F-bomb when he saw that, because they showed it in slow motion. They didn't realize what they were showing. They just did their normal rollback, and he was like, oh boy. And then they went off, and then they were like, we're not playing it again. And I give Fox a ton of credit for that. Luckily, I have DVR, and I got to go back and watch it because I missed it live. And it was brutal. Thoughts and prayers out to Hurns that he has a successful surgery and recovery from that, because the worst part about it was he's laying on the ground face down, and his left foot was pointing straight up in the air, like if he was laying on his back. And it was.
I can do that. I can do that.
Well, yeah, you can do that however you want. But I think that was the turning point of the game. I think Seattle was equally as intense as the Cowboys. And then once Hurns went down, I think the Cowboys at halftime went in and they said, look, we're doing this for him. And it was the motivation they needed. And it came back to bite the Seahawks in the butt. The Cowboys, they have the weapons to make a run in this playoffs. I mean, they're going to either go to the Saints or the Rams, depending on the outcome of today's game.
Right.
I don't know that they have. I think they have a better chance of winning next week if they go to the Rams than they do the Saints. I don't think the Saints are going to be beat by a streaky team at home, because the Cowboys are very much, flavor of the week. It depends on what team shows up and what Dak Prescott shows up. I think the Rams give them a little bit more flexibility because the Rams defense has been vulnerable at times. I just think the Saints are going to be way too powerful for them in the Dome should Dallas go to New Orleans.
I think the only team that has a shot at beating the Saints are the Bears.
Yeah, because of that defense.
because of the defense. They're the only team. As I look at the playoffs now, they're the only team that stand between the Saints and a Super Bowl championship.
I agree.
I don't think anybody else defensively is strong enough to stop the Saints. And I think if the Bears play the Saints, and that would be NFC Championship game.
Yes.
So that would be the one team that could knock the Saints off. I have a problem with the Dallas-Seattle game, and that is fucking DirecTV.
It kept dropping.
So I was at my usual Saturday night hangout, and we were watching the game, and Dallas scores, and they start talking, and then all of a sudden the picture pixelates and disappears. So
a big disclaimer: we're sorry. This is only the biggest game that we've had on in 8 weeks. We're not going to be able to play.
Never came back on. So you didn't know if they hit the 2-point conversion. Didn't know if they got an onside kick, and so basically had to follow it on ESPN.com. DirecTV is a fucking train wreck, and I'm having trouble personally with them. I canceled their service in August, and I'm still trying to get them to quit billing me for the last 4 months of service that I didn't have. How do you lose a signal? And it wasn't the weather because it was all over the place. So somebody else I had read on Facebook that as soon as the game started, the signal dropped. So DirecTV, you're a train wreck. Just go away. Just go away. Just quit being you and just go away.
We talked about it like 8 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago. And 35 minutes ago, a story came out of Philadelphia that the Eagles plan on paying Nick Foles his $1 million bonus for playtime. So clearly the front office is listening to our show, and they're like, hey, these guys are talking about we should probably pay him.
Right.
What I think it is, honestly, is they are trying to make sure that his relationship with them stays positive through the playoffs and allows him to be in a good mood when they start taking trade offers for him in the offseason. Because there's a huge report coming out right now that there's going to be a lot of teams potentially interested in Nick Foles, and that he currently holds more value on the trade market than
Carson Wentz.
I'm looking
I can see one of the two being traded. I might
Nick Foles to the Raiders, maybe. You put
Carson Wentz to the Raiders,
maybe.
They would be the one team that would make a stupid trade like that.
So just checking, Nick Foles is playing today against the Bears, despite the rib injury. Who do you have in this game? In the first game, Chargers at the Ravens.
I like the Chargers. The Chargers have been a quietly dominant team this year. I think they've been playing as good as anybody has all season.
Phillip Rivers quietly had probably the best career
absolutely
season of his career.
Yeah, I have I'm excited about the game. I'm really looking forward to watching that game because I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game.
So Ray Lewis came out in the warm-ups and did his little dance to pump the Ravens up today. That means they're going to lose by 50.
Right.
Let's see. Second game is the Bears hosting the Eagles.
Well, I already said that I think that excuse me. I think the Bears have the best shot at beating the Saints. With that being said,
to beat the Bears?
I think they do.
I really think Gruden doesn't play well with young QBs. You're right, Josh. That's why Wentz would be perfect for him. He's older based on injury than his age suggests. He's definitely not a young quarterback based on the history of injuries that slowed him down. And he's not a mobile quarterback. He's going to definitely be one of those ones that Gruden can literally groom to be a pocket passer and fit that system well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're the only two teams that scare me in the AFC. I'm guessing that would be
The Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Ravens. Yeah.
You know, the Ravens don't scare me at all. I don't have any. Lamar Jackson stands out to me as an early flash in the pan Colin Kaepernick. He can play right now. He can run. He can do things. But as the NFL figures him out, I think he's going to have to adapt, and it's going to be interesting to see if John Harbaugh can do what Jim Harbaugh couldn't do, and that would be adapt Colin Kaepernick to the league before his career flounders out. And then, you know, he'd obviously, I mean, there's more to it, but, you know, I still am a firm believer that a lot of the reason why Colin Kaepernick didn't get attention was because of the fact that he can't play quarterback.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see what they do with Lamar Jackson, to see if they can sustain his.
You know, I think what you're seeing is the same thing that's happened to Deshaun Watson. You know, Deshaun Watson came out and he lit it up, and give the NFL a year to prepare for him, and now his weaknesses are showing. I think same thing's going to happen in Baltimore. You know, give the NFL, you know, you might be able to sneak through a playoff game, but give the NFL superpowers a chance to figure out how to defend him. He'll be nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So your predictions today, you have the Chargers and the...
I'm going to go Eagles. I
think I'm going to go Eagles as well. As crazy as that sounds, I think I'm gonna go Eagles as well. So James just asked if he's going to get his first place trophy yet for the NFL Pick'em. I'm trying to find the smallest first place trophy that I can find on Amazon to order for. Ooh, there's a toilet. You can get him a toilet trophy.
There we go.
I don't know, Greg. You should probably buy your best friend a trophy.
Yeah.
Just a nice little tiny one.
Here, something like this. Little Buddha.
Yeah, there you go. Just a little pewter trophy. Maybe a number one.
Here's your first place trophy, James. Congratulations. And I'm going to keep it here at my house for you to come.
He's accepted it on your behalf.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it should be fun. Football is on. We've been on for an hour and 10 minutes. It's been a good show. I don't like the setup I'm in, but it worked, so that's always a plus. And it should be a good day of football. So
yeah.
It's rainy and shitty outside. I have to go out in it and finish and do some more moving at the house, but you know, it's football day.
I have to go be a realtor at 11:30 for a few minutes, and then I'm coming back and parking my ass on the TV in front of the TV.
You'll probably put it on the couch and not on the TV. You'll break your TV if you park your ass on it.
Especially since it's mounted to the fireplace, that'd be really tough to do.
That would be tough. Let's see. I'll take it. Send it according to James. Barnum has the Chargers and the Bears. TJ wants a burrito. All right. That's a good way to end the show. So be on the lookout on iTunes and Spotify and Google Music Play for Tank Talk episode 1. It will be up on the feed either later today or tomorrow morning. Same with this show. It'll be up. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you share this page to all your friends and family on Facebook if they are sports fans. And keep a lookout for some new After Hours episodes coming as well.
Watch out for our new network. Our new network
as well. So, Greg Rosa, I'm Greg Bowl. This was episode 268. We will be back next week.